you know what, right now, I'm just really holding space for Wicked.
And I just wanted to be there because I knew something big was happening. And I didn't know how to be there.
So I went to go see Wicked about a week ago, and I just saw it the other day with a friend again, and I simply must talk about it because I love this fucking movie. I have known about Wicked through cultural osmosis for many years now. You know, the whole, it's the original fairy tale you know, but from the villain's perspective. Originally a novel by Gregory Maguire, Wicked follows the Wicked Witch, Elphaba, and her origin story of how she became said Wicked Witch of the West. Surprise, surprise, she's actually not all that wicked. Girly is just judged for being green.
Green is not a creative color.
And she comes to be a revolutionary leader because it turns out the Wizard of Oz ain't shit. Is anyone surprised? I'm not. And following this, Wicked was adapted into a Broadway musical. It is the Broadway musical, and I have friends who are deeply obsessed with this fucking musical. From my knowledge, the musical is a lot less focused on the politics than the book. Both are kind of a mess, generally speaking, but the movie is generally more well regarded because it is more palatable. And now it has become a movie starring Cynthia Erivo and Ariana. I slept with SpongeBob Grande. Okay, look, I don't know about the Ariana Grande drama. I don't really care about celebrity culture all that much. I just really like the idea that I get to make SpongeBob cheating jokes. Don't judge me. I was really curious about this movie because when it comes to a story that's super popular that everyone knows through cultural osmosis and you haven't seen it, it's kind of interesting wondering what it could be like. And I'm kind of surprised that I wound up enjoying it as much as I did. I really enjoyed the social commentary in the movie. I enjoyed the characters. I love Elphaba Down. Queen. The music slayed, the choreography slayed, the set design slayed. The romance was kind of but you know, that's to be expected. Now, I haven't read the book. I haven't seen the musical, so I'm just speaking of my knowledge of the movie. Maybe eventually I will delve into both for comparison, but right now I just really want to talk about the movie. Before we begin, ciao. My name's Thomas, and if you're new here, I make videos discussing various pieces of media that I enjoy or that utterly fascinate me with how much they make me wish I was dead. And if that sounds fun to you, stick around then. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, because YouTube hates creators almost as much as Oz hates green people or animals. And, you know, consider supporting the channel on Patreon so that I can continue making content for you and also for special rewards and stuff. Early access videos, video scripts, Patreon exclusive videos, Discord server, you know, the fun stuff. So just to go over the basic plot of the movie for y'all. We are in Oz. Y'all know Oz. The weird land that Dorothy went to through a tornado, as one does. It's filled with iconic locations such as Munchkin Land and the Emerald City. We know this. And there are also animals. Not anthropomorphic animals, just talking animals. This is important. Remember this. There are bear nurses.
I am a
Bear.
in STEM. Bunsen burner. On.
So in the story, Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, as she will become, is green because her mom cheated on her dad, the governor of Munchkin Land, with totally not Wizard Man. He's definitely not the Wizard of Oz. Definitely not. And their affair involved a weird potion thingy that made Elphaba green, and because she came out green and also appeared to have a lot of powerful latent magic within her, her papa decided, I don't like you. And her papa is a real, I do not like that man. He got so paranoid about Elphaba being green that he decided to avoid that potentially. He would make his wife chew on milk flowers for their next daughter. The next daughter, Nessa Rose, didn't come out green, but she came out with weak legs and is in a wheelchair when we see her in the present. And also, it made the mom die in childbirth. So, good job, man.
You're enjoying this, aren't you, you sick?
Elphaba has always been seen as an outcast because of her greenness. This is something FD Signifier and Princess Weeks talk about in their fantastic video about Wicked. Go watch it immediately. Where they talk about how Elphaba's greenness can be read as someone being marginalized, specifically what it is like to walk through the world as a Black woman. And this coding is really emphasized by the casting of Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. I can't speak to it being a white bitch, but I really appreciated that coding, and I really appreciate their commentary on the subject. I found it very enlightening and very interesting to hear. But because Elphaba is ostracized and feared for her greenness and her magic, she's basically just trying to survive in this horrible world. The only purpose she really seems to have is looking out for little Nessa Rose. But Nessa Rose is like, just because I'm in a wheelchair, that doesn't mean I'm helpless. Like, please, just let me handle things on my own. And when they grow up, Nessa Rose wants to attend Shiz Academy. The name sounds like a made-up curse word from Victorious. I love this.
You're talking some crazy chiz.
I just love all the weird made-up language in Oz. Oz is not really over-the-top weird. It's more like silly, but like subtly silly. They'll throw in a made-up word every 5 sentences, and you're just like, whoa. Okay. Very scandalous, hideous behavior of you, but all right. Anyway, Nessa Rose wants to attend Shiz Academy. Her papa is like, Elphaba, you go with her. Take care of her. I don't care if she wants to mind herself. I'm a paranoid father who is very overprotective and trash. And also, I hate you and I don't want you to come home. Honestly, the best decision. Because I want Elphaba far, far away from that hideous man. When the staff insists on taking Nessa Rose to her dormitory against her will, because, apparently a disabled person can't make it to their room themselves, Elphaba is like, no, let her do it herself. And she gets so upset that her powers go off. Furniture goes flying, smashing into the walls. Tables are thrown. Nessa Rose believes she can fly. Well, she doesn't really believe. She's more screaming. But, everyone is horrified. But then Madame Morrible appears. Madame Morrible is horrible, firstly. She is a sorceress. She's a professor at Shiz Academy. She teaches a very prestigious exclusive seminar on sorcery. And she's so taken with Elphaba's power, she's like, you are my one and only student. Stay here. I like you. And Elphaba's like, oh, okay. I can make my curse into a cool thing that gives me power and prestige and respect. Sure. And it might even help her meet the Wizard of Oz. So she could go from social outcast to beloved, respected figure. And she even has dreams of possibly being degreenified because this has been such a source of terror and pain and isolation for her. It's so sad. I just really want to hug Elphaba so bad. And also punch everyone who just looks at her weird and is scared of her before she even says or does anything. I'm like, y'all are trash. But because she is not enrolled at Shiz, she now is dorming with Galinda.
I so enjoy air. You know what I mean?
Who previously had a private suite, but Madame Morrible said, go fuck yourself, you Sharon. Now, the name Galinda might be familiar to you as Glinda, the good witch of the north or south, depending on source material. Galinda, also known as Blondiana Grande, is very upset about having to share a dorm. She's an aspiring sorceress, but Madame Morrible just kind of ignores her completely. It's very funny to watch.
Madame Morrible.
Who are you again?
What?
And these two really do not like each other. Their first impression is literally Galinda going like, you poor, poor green thing. If when I become a sorceress, I could degreenify you. And Elphaba just roasts her in front of everyone like, wow, you're real full of yourself, aren't you? You look untalented as hell to me. Goodbye. They really dislike each other.
I don't like you. I really don't like you. I really, 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 really want you gone.
It leads to one of the best songs in the movie where they talk about how much they fucking loathe each other. This song needs to be sung by every rivals to friends or rivals to lovers pair in media because it's perfect. The music does such a good job endearing you to the characters and also moving the story forward. It's catchy as fuck. And I honestly prefer the movie versions to the soundtrack versions because the movie versions include sound effects that were specifically designed to act as percussion. The chorus of What Am I Feeling, where they're talking about loathing, loathing, forever loathing. It's not right without all the footsteps and the hitting of the books. It's just not. But the friendship that grows between Elphaba and Galinda is very much the core of the movie. They're roommates, potential sapphics.
And they were roommates.
Oh my God, they were roommates.
Galinda is incredibly privileged. She hasn't had to worry about anything really. And yet she feels so entitled to Madame Morrible's attention, to having her own suite, to gaining power, that when she sees Elphaba getting that and she sees Elphaba as being inferior to her, it really grinds her pink gears. But eventually when Elphaba winds up advocating for Galinda in order to also be in Madame Morrible's sorcery seminar, because Galinda was, trying to prank Elphaba into humiliating herself at a dance they were going to with a pointy witch hat, but Elphaba thought it was a nice gesture, genuinely. Galinda is so moved that she winds up helping out Elphaba when she's, being humiliated at said dance. Elphaba's dancing alone, just awkwardly. I think she's, being courageous, and also her moves are fire. No one in this land has taste, but Galinda joins in mimicking, and then soon everyone's dancing with them. And I really love this because Galinda was kind of risking her social status in order to come to Elphaba's aid, in realizing that Elphaba is truly kind and assuming the best of her, even with her attitude. And also it really shows Galinda's ability to change the perception of Elphaba. She really has this social capital to change the dynamics so easily. And I think that is emblematic of what she's capable of if she's willing to take that risk, a risk that she does not take later on in the movie. But it ends up leading to them becoming friends. And Galinda says, "You're going to be popular because I'm going to make you my bestie." It's so cute. I love it so much. Also, iconic song. And Galinda has this line also about, it's not about what you say or what you do, it's how you're perceived, which I think is also an incredibly potent theme in the movie, where Elphaba is kind, she means well, she's incredibly talented, but the world treats her as trash, to be feared or scorned because of how they perceive her. And even later on when they brand her the Wicked Witch of the West, again, it's all about perception. The power that perception holds, even when it doesn't line up with reality. And oftentimes, it just doesn't. So while all of this is going on, we also have Prince Fiero. I don't really care about him. Okay, yeah, sure, Jonathan Bailey is hot or whatever, but basically, he has a romance with Galinda, but also he has the hots for Elphaba, and Elphaba has the hots for him, but doesn't want to betray her friendship with Galinda. I cannot overstate how little I care. I get the appeal of it. I really do. For whatever reason, people still love triangles. I don't get it. Personally, I read a little bit of queer coding into this. I don't know. I think it would have been interesting if the reason Fiero doesn't go for Elphaba is more clearly that he doesn't want to risk his social status. It's a thing that happens where men will be attracted to certain types of people. My main thought is maybe men or trans women, but they won't openly date them because they're afraid of how society will treat them, that they will receive just a little fraction of the marginalization and hatred that the person they're attracted to receives. I think that could have been an interesting angle that definitely would have made it a more enjoyable process for me. So anyway, back to the actual plot of the movie. While all this is going on, there is bad shit happening in Oz. You remember those animals that can talk? So as we learn through the movie, mainly through Dr. Professor Dillamond, also known as Peter Dinklage the Goat, that the animals of Oz are slowly losing their rights. They're being caged, they're losing the ability to speak.
Were you silent or were you silenced?
And we eventually even see Dr. Dillamond being violently dragged out by soldiers of the classroom because animals are no longer allowed to teach at Shiz. I'm going to blame Madame Morrible for this until proven otherwise. And Elphaba really feels for the plight of the animals because she knows what it is like to be ostracized and looked down upon. Admittedly, it is kind of the thing where white people specifically need a fantastical stand-in to understand racism and marginalization. As to the efficacy of how it is done, I will leave that to Black viewers of color. How do y'all feel about the animal subplot? Me personally, I think they did a pretty good job. I was horrified as they took Dr. Dillamond away. I was very upset. So Elphaba's main thing becomes wanting to use the power and prestige she's after in potentially befriending the wizard in order to change the system to help the animals. Because again, she relates her own treatment to the treatment of the animals. All prejudices are connected. But the issue is that when she finally gets to the Emerald City and Galinda goes with her, she meets the wizard, you know, the whole man behind the curtain. He's a man without magic. He can't really do anything. He has this ancient spell book called the Grimoire, and he can't use it because, you know, he can't do magic. And Madame Morrible can't read it either. She can't read the ancient language. But Elphaba can. Talented, brilliant, amazing, iconic, wonderful, good for Elphaba. Except not, because they trick her into taking the monkeys that the wizard has as his personal guard and giving them wings. It's a very painful process. Elphaba is horrified. She's like, how do I reverse this? And Madame Morrible's like, you can't, darling. She doesn't actually evilly laugh, but I like to imagine she is because she sucks.
And I killed Toto too.
And Elphaba puts two and two together and realizes that the reason that the animals are being treated this way and losing their rights is because of the wizard. The wizard basically says the quiet part out loud and says to unify a people, you give them a common enemy. And he's decided it's the animals. Elphaba, calling out the wizard as a shitbag and a fraud, grabs the Grimoire and bails. Blondiana goes with her. And there's this rift between the girls where Glinda can't understand why Elphaba isn't going along with what the wizard says because she is so fixated on power and prestige and social status, whereas Elphaba is horrified by this system and wants no part of it. Probably because she knows what it is like to be on the receiving end of a system that hates you and doesn't want you to have rights. And she's like, I can't be part of that. I cannot. There is a love and respect still between them that we see in Defying Gravity, and I do really appreciate that. You know, I always heard that Galinda was trying to change the system from within. Maybe that'll be true in part 2 because I don't really know the story from here. Like, I know the major beats, but I don't know the finer details. But as of right now, I don't know if I have faith in the girlie. I'm gonna be real.
The guy is silent.
Were you silenced? Or were you silent?
The guy is silent.
Anyway, Elphaba then has her dramatic moment of using the Grimoire to give herself the power of flight. She gets her iconic broom. She gets her cape that continually grows because having a longer cape while you're flying looks dramatic and iconic. She does Defying Gravity. It's fucking amazing. Okay, look, when she's falling and she sees the reflection of her young self reaching out, she takes her hand and then it's the broom and then she flies up and the wind whooshes behind her, her leading the flying monkeys into the soldiers. The storm clouds as she's belting over Oz, all the lights going out at once as she's belting to the heavens of like, fuck the wizard, he ain't shit. I was living, okay? I was having a moment.
Really holding space with that.
And thus the movie ends. Elphaba is considered a wicked witch because she has told the wizard he ain't shit. And now going into part 2, I presume that we're going to see Elphaba being a rebel against the system of Oz. We're going to see how she meets her demise. I don't know how much the story of the original Wizard of Oz is going to play into Wicked, but I am interested to see how it goes from here. Because part 1 is very much the setup, getting you to care about the characters and their dynamic. You know, it's mostly the school setting. It's setting everything up. And then part 2 seems to be all of the action and the fallout. And I'm interested to see where it goes. I have heard messy details from the book, but you know, I don't know. I think maybe it's also just the fact that the United States is kind of a shit show right now. I really appreciate this whole, the person that the public hates and treats as a villain is actually the hero fighting against an oppressive regime. And she's belting this iconic fucking song. You know, I just really appreciate that. And again, set design. I love the Emerald City. It looks gorgeous. I love all the vibrant colors. I love that little nail salon where the hummingbirds are doing people's nails. I love Shiz University. I love the fact that you have to get there through, you know, canals and boats, gondolas. Just on the whole, I really appreciated Wicked, and I'm excited to see how the rest of it goes. And, you know, I'm kind of intrigued to learn more about it. So, yeah, that's Wicked. I really dig it. Bye.